For a long time, the textbook definition of a nation has been straightforward. You draw clear, straight borders on a map, establish a timeline of steady progress, and define a strict identity of who belongs inside those lines and who stays out. But those neat boundaries collapse when they are drawn in a rush by a retreating empire. In 1947, British colonizers finally left India, carving up the subcontinent to create new, arbitrary borders. Almost overnight, millions of people realized they were standing on the wrong side of a newly invented line. Families packed whatever they could carry and walked, forming massive encampments as they crossed paths with millions doing the same thing in the opposite direction. Institutional history, usually written by those in charge, prefers to skip this chaos. Official records smooth the trauma down into a clean list of political treaties. To find the actual reality of a newly independent country, you have to look away from the institutions and listen to the individuals. In Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children, the narrator Salim Sinai shows us that the truth of a post-colonial state survives only in fragmented, marginalized memories. Understanding a place like post-colonial India means tossing out the clean historical timelines. The real story is messy, entirely contradictory, and deeply personal. Salim Sinai is born at the exact stroke of midnight on August 15, 1947. Because he takes his first breath at the precise moment Jawaharlal Nehru declares independence, Salim's life is literally handcuffed to the milestones of the new republic. But his trajectory is immediately hijacked. A nurse secretly switches Salim with another newborn in the hospital nursery. As the ink from a pen bleeds across a fresh nap, the lives of these two babies blur into one another. The same scrambling force that redefined a continent's borders has now redefined theirs. Both boys are dropped into families, religions, and social classes they were never intended for. One grows up in wealth, while the other faces the grinding, daily reality of poverty, waiting in line with a bucket just to get clean water. Independence arrives as a chaotic uprooting. A nation's birth is built from the dislocation of its own people. As Salim grows up, he discovers he isn't alone. He can telepathically communicate with 1,001 other children born in the first hour of independence, each possessing a unique magical gift. When they communicate in his mind, it is a deafening roar of different languages, complaints, and perspectives. This noisy, overwhelming assembly reflects the sheer variety of India's early pluralistic democracy. Author Salman Rushdie coined a specific term for the way these post-colonial citizens communicate: chutneyfication. It is the deliberate decolonization of the English language. Instead of speaking the Queen's English, individuals take the vocabulary of the retreating empire and completely restructure it. Rigid grammar rules snap and reform, adopting the distinct cadence, humor, and rhythm of local Indian life. Post-colonial subjects turned the language of the empire into a hijacked tool. They used the colonizers' vocabulary to assert an authentic identity that the original authors never intended. Fast forward to the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. During the fighting, Salim is hit by shrapnel and completely loses his memory. His total loss of self maps directly onto the splintering of the subcontinent. The early optimism of 1947 dies here, replaced by weapons laid on the ground and a harsh new military reality. A few years later, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi declares a state of emergency, abruptly suspending democratic rights across the country. Under this authoritarian sweep, the government hunts down the remaining Midnight's children. They are forced into camps and sterilized, physically ensuring their unique powers and voices are erased. A sprawling, diverse society survives its internal differences. The real violence occurs when those in power try to brutally force a complex population into a single, uniform mold. Look at the historical trauma and ask, does the idea of India actually hold together? Yes, but only if you shatter the old shape first. The nation is fragmented, and those exact fragments are what hold it together. Carrying a fractured identity feels heavy only when you judge yourself against the outdated European expectation of one unified people with one unified history. To belong to a post-colonial nation is to accept that you are a hybrid. You are the product of centuries of colliding religions, shifting borders, and completely different social classes. You cannot understand a country by memorizing dates from a textbook. The political decisions made in distant capitals always ripple down into the intensely personal, everyday lives of citizens. The cracks and contradictions of personal history form the expansive beauty of the final picture. These fragments are the essential elements of a nation's mosaic.